Hey guys, so this is going to be hopefully a quick video about note taking, and my goal for this video is not to get you to copy the way that I take notes or to copy my note taking system. It's mostly going to be about trying to motivate you to care about how you take notes, and I'll introduce you to the way I do it, maybe to give you some inspiration. But mostly, if you leave this video thinking that you should think more about how you take notes, then I think it will have been a success. So this is mostly for people who are unaware of how useful note-taking software can be. Okay, so what is the point? I am in philosophy grad school, so I want to write good philosophy papers, but I am dumb. So understanding ideas is hard for me, remembering things is hard for me, and writing things is hard. So thankfully, we have tools and technologies which make these things a lot easier. So I tend to think that if you're not using tools or technologies to make your life easier, then you're missing out, because tools are basically OP. So note-taking is a tool for thought, and it's a technology that we've developed basically to help us understand things easier, to remember things easier, and to write things easier. So I think that you should probably care a lot about this tool that you're using, in the same way that a filmmaker or a carpenter cares about their tools. Software is insane, and I think that software has only been a thing for 30, 40 years, and we're still at the very bleeding edge of using software. If you look up videos on YouTube of philosophy people taking notes, they're still, annotating physical books and writing on note cards and things like that. And while I think it's definitely better than doing nothing, I also think that software has just blown past these sorts of things. So the software that I use is called Roam Research. This costs money, but there is another app that's almost identical as far as I am aware, which is called Obsidian. So all of the concepts that I talk about for Roam should also apply to Obsidian. But basically, these note-taking apps will far outstrip, writing it and underlining in a book. And I'll show you why I think that. Now, one last thing before I jump into actually my Roam Research graph. I'm just going to mention that this book, How to Take Smart Notes, which I have right here, is kind of a very simple but beautiful little book about the Zettelkasten method and how you might apply it today. So if you're interested in getting some first principles reasoning about how to take notes, I recommend this book. Okay, so let us go ahead and actually jump into my Roam Research, and I'll give you a couple examples of the features that Roam or Obsidian or these other apps have that make them really, really powerful. So say, I'm sitting down to write and think about something, and I write this out. So I think that determinism and free will are incompatible, but I think free will exists, so I'm a libertarian. It's not a very deep thought, but let's just use it as an example. So what Roam lets me do is link things together. So let's say I wrote this out and I wanted to link this to free will, because that's an important concept here. So what I would do is put two brackets around free will, and it would give me a list of all of the pages or notes that I have that have free will in it. So I'm just going to do free will itself. And what we can do is we can actually now click on free will, and it's going to show you all of your linked references. So these are across your entire database of notes, all the places where you have linked free will. So you'll notice that there's a ton of stuff here. A lot of these you'll see, this is a Pamela Hieronymi book that I've tagged as free will. Some of these are like me just writing stuff, and some of these are book notes, and there's a mix. So actually what's really cool is I can sort, and let's say I want to sort by source. That's the tag I use for books or papers. So now that I've sorted by source, all I can see here are books or papers that I've tagged as free will. So here's P.F. Strawson's Freedom and Resentment. Here's R.E. Hobart's Free Will as Involving Determinism and Inconceivable Without It. So these are all the things that I've actually read and tagged as free will. But let's go back to where we wrote this. Let's say that I want to differentiate this as something that I wrote. What I tend to use is I usually tag things as fleeting. So that's just a way to tell myself, like, this was a fleeting thought. This is something I wrote and I just kind of fleetingly put into my notes. So now if we go back to free will, we can sort by fleeting. So these are all things written by me. These are all notes that I've taken. I've even copied written notes in. And you can see, here's my note that we just made. I think determinism and free will are incompatible. So I'm libertarian. And the cool thing is actually we can edit it from here. Hello. And we could even add, we could connect more things up. We could connect determinism now. So now if we go over to the determinism page, you will see, hey, there it is. And if we sorted by source, it would disappear, and here are all my different readings I've done on determinism. Cool. And look, there's the hello that we added from another page. So what you're starting to see is there's no like one place where this note truly exists. It sort of exists as a node that can appear anywhere on my graph. So here's another example. Let's say I'm writing, it's later in the day or something, and I'm writing something like, I have a metaphysical position such that, and I want to, and I remember actually, I wrote about the fact that I think determinism and free will are incompatible. So what I can do is just while I'm here typing, I can put 2 parentheses, and you'll see that it says search for a block. So now if I just start typing, something like I think free will, okay, so cool. So now it's giving me a bunch of places where in one bullet point I've written I think free will E. So there you can, as I'm scrolling through, you can see all the times I've actually written that phrase quite a bit. But here's the one I just wrote. So now if I click on that, it is now just part of what I'm writing. That's cool. So now you can see I'm starting to work in and synthesize notes that I've taken from the past here in the present, which is very, very helpful. So let me now show you how I actually use these features in a workflow. So I'll start with something I was actually reading today, which was this. So this is J. David Velleman's book Self to Self. I was reading the chapter on Kantian ethics. So what I do, first of all, is, let me actually back up. So you'll see that I have something called fleeting, and under that I take my fleeting notes, but I also have literature notes. So under my literature notes is where I actually just copy paste from a PDF the actual literature of the book. And then I highlight it and I bold it. So this is my basic sort of highlighting, underlining, bolding that you might do when reading a text. So you have that here. That's your sort of standard stuff. You might also notice, though, on the side here, the side of these different bullet points, there's references. So let's say I click on this reference. What you can see is where I've referenced this block and taken a note about it. So on this note, actually, it looks like I summarized it a little bit, and then I asked a question. So I wonder if we analyze reasons, if they are necessarily universal. Is that what Kant does? And I can actually expand this bullet point, and there's more that I was writing about. So as 10 years from now, I could come to this book, or in my notes, I could get a condensed reading of it with the things that I think are important, and I could even see what my notes were on it. And this is permanent. I'm gonna have this for the rest of my life. So actually, I'll open up the fleeting here on the side, and so these are all the notes that I wrote. So this is as if you had a notepad on the side, and we're just writing things out. And what I'm doing is I'm using that ability to link things together to actually link back to the text. So here in this bullet point here, I say if we have a moral obligation to do something, then it is inescapable. We're obligated no matter what our desires, interests, or aims are. So now if I hover over this, I actually linked this back to the text. So actually, if I just click on it, it will take me directly to where the part that I highlighted and bolded in the actual text. So again, if I come 10 years from now and instead of looking at the text, I just want to check some notes, I can be like, oh, interesting. Like that's no matter what our desires, interests, or aims are. Let me click on that, and it'll take me, boom, right to the text. So that's really, really helpful. But let me show you one other way that this manifests. So I'll take you to a note. Let's do, is free will compatible with determinism? So here is sort of like an outline of thinking that I was doing prior to writing a paper. So as you can see, I've sort of got this outline answering the question, is free will compatible with determinism? And there's like yes or no or semi-compatibilism. If I expand the yes, you can see all the things I was writing about. Okay. But now let's say, I'm reading this and I see this note that I took. You'll see that again, I've linked something here. So if I hover over it, we'll see a note that, it's like further information supporting this idea here. And let's say, okay, I'm interested in that. Let's click on that. Oh, wow. That takes me to a really in-depth series of notes that I took. And it looks like it was underneath the book, the paper, Freedom and Resentment by P.F. Strawson. Cool. So it took me to this note. There's a bunch of further thoughts I have about it. But again, just like we saw before, if I open this note up, it actually takes me to the literature that was supporting this idea. So this was a response to this exact point in the paper by P.F. Strawson. So it should be really clear then, if I'm writing an outline like this, which is in preparation for a paper, I suddenly have all of this raw material, first of all, raw material in notes like these to build an outline. And second of all, at every point, in almost every bullet point here, I have textual support. If I follow the line of references here, almost all of these points will take me back to the actual literature that I can cite in a paper. So that kind of solves that third problem we had, which was that writing is really hard. And I think you can see how, the fact that this is digital means this is going to be accessible to me at all times, forever. That kind of helps with the memory problem. And you're able to do your traditional annotating and note-taking, which solves the problem of understanding. So overall, that was a quick overview of what I do to take notes and the technology and the tools that I use. Hopefully that was interesting, and hopefully that inspires you to take notes yourself. Thanks.